Single mother begs Adam Sandler for help. His response will make you cry. The early morning light bled through the worn curtains of the tiny apartment in East Hollywood. Emily Carter rubbed her eyes, staring at the ceiling as the persistent beeping of her alarm clock called her to reality. Bills, deadlines, and appointments swirled in her mind, heavy as the smog that hung over Los Angeles. The apartment was no bigger than a motel room, its chipped paint and creaking floorboards, a constant reminder of the life Emily hadn't planned. She moved quietly so as not to wake her son Noah. At just 7 years old, Noah had already endured more pain than most adults. Born with a congenital heart defect, his life was a cycle of doctor's appointments, hospital stays, and medications Emily could barely afford. Emily tiptoed into the kitchenette, her sock-covered feet brushing against cold linoleum. The coffee machine sputtered noisily, an unwelcome luxury she still allowed herself. As the dark liquid dripped slowly into the cracked ceramic mug, Emily's phone lit up with a notification. Final notice. Payment required immediately. Her chest tightened. The medical bills alone would have crushed anyone. But the rent, utilities, and Noah's special care needs had made survival a daily battle. Emily worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices by night and waiting tables by day, yet the numbers never added up. From the other room, she heard a soft cough. Emily's heart softened. She walked over and sat on the edge of Noah's small bed. His thin frame was dwarfed by the oversized Los Angeles Lakers blanket he loved. His pale face lit up at the sight of his mother. "Hey, buddy," Emily whispered, brushing back his soft, dark hair. "Morning, Mom," he replied weakly, his voice hoarse. "Do I have to go to the hospital today?" "Not today, sweetheart. Just some rest at home." Noah smiled faintly, and Emily's heart cracked a little more. She kissed his forehead, then sat back at the kitchen table. A crumpled piece of paper lay before her, a letter she had started and abandoned a dozen times. It was her last idea, a desperate thought born of sleepless nights. She had read stories online about celebrities who had helped strangers. She didn't expect much, but she couldn't bear to do nothing. Emily picked up her pen and began writing again. "Dear Mr. Sandler, my name is Emily Carter. I know this letter will probably never reach you, and even if it does, you must get thousands of messages like this. I'm a single mom living in Los Angeles with my son Noah. He's 7 and he has a severe heart condition. I've tried everything I can, but the medical bills are more than I can handle. You have always seemed like someone who cares about people. I've seen interviews and read stories where you helped others without expecting anything back. I know this is a long shot, but I'm begging you for any kind of help. I don't want money for myself. I just want my little boy to have a chance at life. Thank you for reading this if you do. With hope, Emily Carter." Emily stared at the letter for a long moment, the ink slightly smudged where her hand had trembled. She folded it gently, slipped it into an envelope, and addressed it to Adam Sandler's production office. There were no guarantees it would even be delivered, but hope was sometimes all a person had. Later that afternoon, after settling Noah in front of his favorite cartoon, Emily walked the familiar 6 blocks to the mailbox at the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Normandy Avenue. The streets buzzed with life, people rushing to auditions, tourists snapping photos, and street vendors shouting about hot dogs and souvenirs. None of them noticed the slender woman in a faded hoodie, clutching an envelope like it held the weight of the world. With a deep breath, Emily slipped the letter into the slot. As the envelope disappeared, a breeze swept past her, tugging at her hair. For the first time in weeks, Emily allowed herself the smallest flicker of hope. The letter was gone, carried off to fate, and for that brief moment it was enough. She walked back to the apartment, unaware that this tiny action had already set something extraordinary in motion. The days that followed were a blur of exhaustion and worry. Emily balanced double shifts and late-night cleaning jobs with Noah's care. Each time her phone buzzed, her heart jumped in the irrational hope that it might be a response. But nothing came. Los Angeles was unusually cold for early spring. A thin fog clung to the streets as Emily trudged home one night after a grueling cleaning shift downtown. Her shoes were soaked, her fingers numb. She paused on the stoop of her building, pulling her jacket tighter. Inside, the apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of Noah's oxygen concentrator. Emily removed her shoes silently and walked to his room. Noah lay asleep, his chest rising and falling unevenly. The sight of him always grounded her. No fatigue could compete with the love she felt for her son. The next morning, while brewing weak coffee, Emily scrolled through her emails, mostly advertisements and overdue notices. Her phone rang unexpectedly. Unknown number. She frowned, thumb hovering over the decline button, then reluctantly answered. "Hello?" she said cautiously. "Is this Emily Carter?" A calm, professional male voice asked. "Yes, who's calling?" "This is Daniel Klein. I'm an assistant at Happy Madison Productions, Mr. Adam Sandler's office." Emily froze, coffee cup halfway to her lips. Her knees nearly gave out, and she gripped the kitchen counter for support. I'm sorry." "What?" she whispered. "I work for Mr. Sandler. He received your letter." The silence that followed was heavy. Daniel continued, his tone softening. "Mr. Sandler asked me to get in touch with you. He read your letter himself. He was very moved by your situation and would like to speak with you personally if you're open to it." Emily struggled to breathe. The exhaustion, the hopelessness, the endless no's. And now, out of nowhere, this. "Yes," she choked out, tears welling in her eyes. "Yes, of course. Great. Mr. Sandler has a busy schedule, but he would like to meet you and your son this weekend if you're available. We can arrange transportation and anything else you might need." Emily nodded furiously, then realized Daniel couldn't see her. "Yes, we'll be there. Thank you. Thank you so much." The rest of the week passed like a dream. Emily carefully selected the cleanest clothes they owned. She borrowed an old stroller from a neighbor so Noah wouldn't tire easily. The thought of meeting Adam Sandler, a man they had only seen on television, felt surreal. Saturday morning arrived bright and clear. A sleek black SUV pulled up outside their building. The driver, a kind man named Luis, opened the door for them and chatted gently to calm Emily's nerves. The city sped past the windows, the Walk of Fame, street performers, towering billboards. They soon arrived at a discreet office building near Beverly Hills. Emily's heart raced as they were escorted through glass doors into a warm, inviting lobby. Photos lined the walls, Adam Sandler with castmates, family and fans. Yet the office didn't feel pretentious. It felt lived in, cozy even. Emily, Noah, Daniel, a young man in his early 30s with kind eyes, greeted them. "He's ready for you." The door to the private office opened, and there he was. Adam Sandler, dressed in a simple hoodie and basketball shorts, smiled warmly and extended his hand. "Hi, Emily. You must be Noah." Emily stared, stunned. The man who had seemed larger than life on screen now stood before her, just a dad, just a person. "Hi, Mr. Sandler," she managed to say. Noah shyly waved from behind her leg. "Call me Adam," he chuckled. He knelt down to Noah's level. "Hey, buddy, I heard you're a pretty tough little guy." Noah gave a small smile, his cheeks flushing. Adam motioned for them to sit. "I read your letter, Emily. I'm so sorry you've had to go through all of this. I wanted to meet you and see if there's anything I can do to help." Emily's voice trembled. "I wasn't expecting anything. I just didn't know where else to turn." Adam nodded solemnly. "You came to the right place." He leaned back and gestured to Daniel. We've already started looking into the best pediatric specialists and hospitals. Whatever Noah needs, we'll make it happen." Emily stared at him, stunned. "I can't pay you back." Adam smiled gently. "You don't have to. Sometimes we're just supposed to help when we can." Tears streamed down Emily's cheeks as Noah clung to her hand. In that moment, the weight of years of fear and helplessness lifted just a little. For the first time in a long time, Emily felt something powerful and unfamiliar. Relief. The sun cast soft golden light through the wide windows of the UCLA Mattel Children's Hospital. It was a clear contrast to the sterile white walls and the faint beeping of monitors. Emily sat nervously by Noah's side, holding his small hand as they waited for the first consultation with Dr. Leah Kaplan, a leading pediatric cardiologist whose waiting list normally stretched for months. Today, thanks to Adam Sandler's personal intervention, they had been seen within days. Noah tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Is he really helping us, Mom?" Emily squeezed his hand. "Yes, sweetheart, he really is." The door opened and Dr. Kaplan, a woman in her mid-40s with kind, intelligent eyes and a calm presence, walked in. "Good morning, Emily." "Noah." She greeted them warmly. "I've reviewed Noah's case. I'm impressed by how brave he's been." Emily smiled weakly. "He's my little fighter." Dr. Kaplan nodded seriously. "We've arranged for additional imaging and blood work today. There are some experimental surgical options we can consider, but we'll start with stabilizing him and building up his strength." The next hours were a whirlwind. Nurses in blue scrubs gently took Noah for tests. Emily sat in the waiting room, staring at the muted TV and biting her nails. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hey, Emily, it's Adam. Just wanted to check in. Thinking about you and Noah. Let me know if you need anything." Emily read it over and over, stunned by the sincerity. It wasn't for publicity. No cameras, no reporters. Just kindness. Over the following weeks, life shifted for Emily and Noah. Adam's team arranged transportation, covered hospital bills, and even hired a part-time nurse to give Emily a break. Emily was reluctant at first, embarrassed by the generosity. But Adam reassured her during one of their brief check-ins at the hospital cafeteria. "I'm not doing this to make a show," he told her over coffee and sandwiches. "You've done the hard part. I'm just making sure you have a chance to breathe." Emily blinked back tears. "I don't know how to thank you." Adam shook his head. "You don't have to. Just focus on Noah." Noah's health slowly improved. The specialist's careful attention and the new medications gave him more energy. One day, as Emily walked into the hospital room, she found Noah out of bed, coloring a picture of superheroes. "Look, Mom," he grinned. "I drew you and Mr. Sandler as heroes." Emily laughed softly, her heart full in a way she hadn't felt in years. She framed the drawing later that day. One afternoon, Adam surprised them with tickets to a private tour of Sony Studios. Emily was hesitant, but Noah's excitement was infectious. Walking through the studio lots, past towering sound stages and familiar movie sets, Noah's eyes widened in wonder. Adam guided them himself, chatting casually as if they were old friends. Noah giggled as Adam did silly impressions and voices. Emily watched her son laugh freely for the first time in months and felt a deep gratitude she couldn't put into words. They stopped at a small outdoor cafe on the lot. Over burgers and fries, Emily finally voiced what had weighed on her. "I feel guilty," she admitted. "There are so many families like us, and I keep thinking, why us?" Adam set down his drink and looked at her with quiet seriousness. "You were brave enough to ask. That's something most people can't do. Maybe this was meant to happen so Noah could inspire others later. You both deserve happiness." Emily nodded slowly, the knot in her chest loosening at last. The weeks turned into months. Noah was scheduled for surgery, a complex but promising procedure. As the date approached, the hospital staff and even Adam himself checked in regularly. Emily and Adam had grown into an unlikely friendship, two parents with very different lives, but a shared understanding of what it meant to fight for your child. The night before surgery, Emily sat by Noah's bed, holding his hand under the soft hospital lights. "Are you scared, Mom?" Noah whispered. Emily kissed his forehead. "A little, but we've come so far. We're not alone anymore." A soft knock at the door interrupted them. Adam stepped in quietly, holding a small stuffed animal for Noah. "Couldn't sleep," Adam said with a gentle smile. "Thought I'd stop by and wish my buddy luck." Noah smiled sleepily and hugged the toy tightly. Emily and Adam exchanged a long, silent look. Tomorrow would be the most critical day of their journey. The morning sky over Los Angeles was streaked with soft pink and gold, a quiet contrast to the tension gripping Emily's heart. She sat in the hospital chapel, the stained glass windows casting fractured light across the empty pews. Clasping her hands tightly, Emily whispered silent prayers to no one in particular. Upstairs, Noah was being prepped for surgery. It would be a complex, hours-long operation to repair the defects in his tiny heart. There were risks, many of them, but it was his best chance at a full life. A soft knock pulled Emily from her thoughts. She turned to see Adam standing in the doorway, wearing jeans and a grey sweatshirt. His usual easy grin was gone, replaced by quiet concern. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. Emily nodded wordlessly. Adam slid into the pew beside her. "I wanted to be here," he said simply, "for both of you." Tears welled in Emily's eyes, but she held them back. "Thank you." They sat together in silence, listening to the distant sounds of footsteps and hospital carts in the hallway. At 7:15 a.m., Emily kissed Noah on the forehead in the pre-op room. He smiled up at her, groggy but calm. "I love you, buddy," she whispered, brushing his dark hair gently. "I love you too, Mom," he murmured, clutching the small, stuffed animal Adam had brought him the night before. As the surgical team wheeled Noah away, Emily's legs weakened. Adam gently took her elbow, guiding her to the waiting area. The hours that followed were the longest of her life. The waiting room was sterile and cold, the television flickering with muted news reports no one watched. Families around them whispered nervously or stared blankly into space. Adam stayed by her side, offering quiet comfort. He brought coffee neither of them drank, and snacks neither of them touched. They spoke sparingly. There wasn't much to say. The weight of uncertainty hung too heavy. At 11:45 a.m., Dr. Kaplan appeared, her blue surgical cap still on. Emily shot up from her chair, heart racing. "The surgery went as well as we hoped," Dr. Kaplan said, her expression warm. "Noah is stable and in recovery. We'll monitor him closely, but he's strong." Emily broke down into tears of relief, sinking into Adam's arms. The kindness of this stranger-turned-friend had kept her grounded through her darkest hours. "Thank you," she whispered over and over. Adam patted her shoulder gently. "You both did it." The next few days were slow and cautious. Noah's small body battled fever and fatigue, but with each passing hour, he grew a little stronger. Emily barely left his side. On the third day, Noah opened his eyes fully and smiled weakly at his mom. "Hi, Mom." Emily laughed softly, brushing tears from her cheeks. "Hi, my brave boy." Later that afternoon, Adam visited again. Noah lit up at the sight of him. "Hey, superstar," Adam joked, pulling up a chair. "You scared the heck out of us." Noah giggled faintly. "I'm okay." Adam looked at Emily and smiled. "He's tougher than both of us." Emily nodded. "He always has been." A week later, Noah was well enough to sit up and walk short distances. On a sunny morning, Dr. Kaplan led him and Emily out into the hospital's rooftop garden. The view of the city was breathtaking, with the Hollywood Hills in the distance. Noah clutched Emily's hand as they walked slowly among the flowers and benches. "I want to go to the beach someday, Mom," Noah said suddenly. "You will," Emily promised, squeezing his hand. Adam joined them unexpectedly, waving from the doorway. "I know a few good beaches," he said playfully. Emily laughed for the first time in what felt like months. That evening, as the city lights twinkled, far below, Emily stood on the hospital balcony, feeling the breeze on her face. Adam joined her quietly. "You saved his life," Emily said softly. Adam shook his head. "You did. You never gave up." She looked up at him, gratitude shining in her weary eyes. "I'll never forget what you've done for us." Adam smiled, kindly. "Just promise me you'll pay it forward one day." "I will," Emily whispered. For the first time in a long time, hope didn't feel fragile. It felt real. The warm California sun bathed the Santa Monica beach in soft light, casting long shadows of seagulls gliding overhead. The sound of waves gently breaking against the shore mixed with children's laughter and the rhythmic thud of beach volleyballs. Emily stood at the edge of the sand, her bare feet sinking into its warmth. She watched as Noah, thinner but healthier, ran clumsily along the water's edge, squealing with joy every time a wave chased his small feet back to shore. It had been 6 months since the surgery, 6 months of slow recovery, doctor's appointments, and cautious optimism. But Noah had pulled through. The light was back in his eyes, and his laugh no longer carried the brittle undertone of exhaustion. Emily closed her eyes, breathing in the salty air. This moment had once seemed impossible. Behind her, Adam approached casually, holding 2 ice cream cones, dressed in flip-flops, cargo shorts, and an old Celtics t-shirt. He looked more like a regular dad than a Hollywood star. "Vanilla or chocolate?" he asked with a grin. "Chocolate, always," Emily replied, with a soft laugh as she took the cone. They stood in comfortable silence, watching Noah play. "You were right," Emily said at last, her voice full of emotion. "This was the dream." Adam smiled warmly. "I just cleared the road a little. You two did all the walking." Emily shook her head gently. "You don't know what you gave us, Adam. It wasn't just the money or the doctors. You gave me the strength to believe in people again." Adam's expression softened. "Sometimes life gives you an opportunity to do the right thing. I was lucky to be in the position to help." Emily looked back at Noah, who waved wildly at them from the water. "Do you ever get tired of people asking for things?" she asked cautiously. Adam chuckled. "I get a lot of letters, some real, some not. Yours was different. It wasn't about wanting something, it was about needing hope. That's hard to ignore." Emily smiled quietly, grateful that her desperate act had reached the right person at the right moment. As the afternoon wore on, they sat on a picnic blanket and watched the sun dip toward the horizon. Noah lay between them, exhausted but happy, holding his little stuffed animal tightly. "You know," Adam said thoughtfully, "there's something special about this city. For all its craziness, it gives people second chances." Emily nodded. "I never thought I'd be one of those people. You earned it." They talked about the future, Noah's school plans, Emily's hopes to return to college part-time, and the community fund Adam was quietly setting up to help other families like Emily's. "I don't want anyone else to have to feel the way you did," Adam explained. "Maybe this experience can help us build something good for others." Emily's eyes welled up. "You're incredible." Adam smiled humbly. "Just a guy with a few connections." As the last sliver of sun disappeared into the Pacific, they gathered their things. Noah slept soundly in Emily's arms as they walked back toward the parking lot. "Thank you, Adam," Emily said again, her voice barely above a whisper. Adam touched her shoulder gently. "You don't have to keep thanking me, just keep living. That's thanks enough." They paused for a final goodbye. The city skyline glowed faintly in the distance, a symbol of chaos, dreams, and redemption. Emily smiled. "We'll be okay." "I know you will," Adam replied. "Stay in touch." As he walked away, his silhouette blending into the dusky beach crowd, Emily held Noah tightly and gazed out at the endless ocean. For the first time in years, the future didn't terrify her. It beckoned.